This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news, the nation's leader and members of the health team addressing latest efforts to combat COVID-19. The Prime Minister warning that experts say the next few months will be a dark period ahead. In the Western Hemisphere, with already hair and winter coming, noting that the Bahamas is not quite in this battle as countries in Europe are implementing more aggressive restrictions. He outlined comprehensive measures to aggressively respond to the virus.
Situation throughout the country. The Cabinet has agreed to the following measures after consultation with our health officials. Effective Friday, the 30th day of October, at 8 p.m. to 5 a.m., weekday curfew will apply to New Providence, Abaco, and to Grand Bahama. What that means is the curfew that presently exists in New Providence, commencing at 7 o'clock, will commence at 8 o'clock instead. And that in Grand Bahama, that commence at 10 o'clock, will likewise commence at 8 p.m. We want to, as quickly as possible, address any community spread on Grand Bahama. On Grand Bahama, weddings will now be limited to 10, not including the officiant. Also on Grand Bahama, funerals will now be limited to 10, and graveside only, not including the officiant and mortuary workers. Due to the increase in COVID-19 related activity on Eleuthera, Spanish Wells, and Harbour Island, the Ministry of Health will dispatch an emergency team to assess the situation, as was done previously in Bimini. And following this assessment, a determination will be made on what specific measures may be needed for Eleuthera, Spanish Wells, and Harbour Island. On Abaco, food stores may now open on Saturday from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., in addition to the weekly hours already done. All beaches and parks on New Providence and Abaco may open effective Monday, November 2nd. That is Monday through Friday. The beaches will remain closed on Saturday and Sunday.
The tourism sector is set to open this Sunday, November 1st. The Prime Minister says measures have been designed to limit the spread of COVID-19.
The rate of transmission 2 weeks following the reopening on the 1st of November to further guide our response. Let me be very clear. A negative RT-PCR test for COVID-19 is required for all individuals entering the Bahamas, including Bahamians and legal residents, regardless of the amount of time an individual has been abroad. And I wish to remind Bahamians and residents that you should have sufficient funds to cover the cost of the necessary test and any other COVID-19 related or medical expenses that may arise during your travel. To put this in simple language, I advise Bahamians, as we open, those who travel abroad, to have sufficient funds in the event you are tested positive in that particular country and they require you to be quarantined for 14 days.
The Prime Minister asking employers to stagger work schedules. He says collectively Bahamians are key to reducing the spread of the virus. He says there must be a shared vision to protect each other.
Do not let pandemic fatigue cause you to lose your life. Millions of people around the world have lingering COVID-19 symptoms. Some of these symptoms are very serious. Scientists do not yet understand all the long-term effects of this disease. They do not know how long the damage it causes will last. And we must adjust our minds to embrace the constraints of the times so you can make it to the post-COVID world healthy and strong. Do not become reckless in frustration and catch this virus. Researchers are making significant progress. In time, there will be a vaccine and more medicines. Follow the health advice so you make it to that time as healthy as possible.
Consultant Dr. Mercelin Dahl-Regis informing that the numbers have climbed to 6,549 with 94 hospitalizations, 12 in Grand Bahama. No deaths reported yesterday, but 2 deaths today. She says every island has had airlifts, but Grand Bahama is among a few islands with a large number of airlifts. The number of active cases on Grand Bahama is 105. In other news, the Ministry of Finance announcing recently that for more than a year, the government has been in the process of standardizing revenue collection from foreign entities providing services that are consumed in the Bahamas. To this end, it was announced that value-added taxes will be imposed on social media advertisements, such as Facebook or Instagram ads. Tonight, business owners weigh in on this tax enforcement, which is set to begin on November 1st. As the world continues to change and social media platforms continue to expand its reach throughout the world, many platforms have gone from a place of connecting with family and friends to now a space to create and promote businesses. Many business owners in the Bahamas have taken advantage of the cost-friendly or often free tools. But just recently, it was announced that social media ads will be taxed a 12% VAT charge. Owner of Barefoot Marketing, Sarah Kirkby, says that this news comes as a surprise.
Because it's a base that you use basically out of the United States. So it's not as a VAT taxable commodity for our clients. There's a couple things that come up for using it. Right now, with the way things are, most people aren't unfortunately picking up newspapers all the time, and it's hard to pick them up. And so most of our media has turned to social media or online or television presence.
In a government press release, the Minister of Finance notes that this move now puts Facebook and other online operators on even footing with Bahamian companies. Owner of Minding Your Business Bahamas Event Management, Davina Rutherford, says that while she understands the reasoning, she simply does not agree.
I think it's just going to make it a little bit more difficult for the smaller person, that new business that's trying to start up and may not have the necessary funds to advertise on the bigger companies. And one of the things about advertising on social media, it's not that persons may not want to advertise anyplace else. It's just that it's cheaper. I can run a $5 ad and reach more people. So by adding the VAT, trying to allegedly discourage me from advertising on Facebook and encourage me to advertise other places may not necessarily play out, because if I don't spend my $5 on Facebook, it doesn't mean that I'm going to have $50 to use someplace else.
Both business owners agree that social media was a cost-friendly tool for new and small businesses, and this tax is simply another financial burden.
A Facebook ad for a very small company is affordable. You can do a $20 boost and reach so many people, and you also get great stats on it, so you can know where your money went, and that also can teach you how to improve your advertising that you do on it. But with adding VAT on, that's adding the cost for doing business in a time when businesses are really struggling. And then unfortunately for me as an agency, what worries me is I'm now going to have to charge VAT because I'm registered in the Bahamas. My home country from Facebook is in the Bahamas. But what happens to an agency that's outside of the Bahamas? So an agency that's in the United States are not going to have to charge VAT. So they have a one-up on me.
With this now, it's just another added cost. We are trying to navigate, like you said, after Dorian and the pandemic. We're currently trying to navigate the situation now. So to now have another added cost, it's just a little stressful. It can become overwhelming. And if you don't have a proper plan in place, it could become a bit much.
Another concern raised by Kirkby is the billing practice for businesses within the Bahamas that choose to use marketing agencies outside of the country.
Tourism would be a perfect example. They use an agency in the United States out of New York. Are they now going to pay VAT? Because that's only fair if I've got to pay VAT, that they have to pay VAT. And who's going to regulate that? And who's going to find those numbers for us? Does that mean that Facebook is now going to monitor every ad that I run, which I'm sure they do already, but does that mean now the government's going to know everything I run?
Both women add that while they understand the need to generate revenue for the country, they say this may not be the best move.
I understand the government probably has to make money and earn money, but it's a bit worrying that they're now finding this, which was such an affordable way for smaller companies to promote their business in an international market that would normally be something they just couldn't afford to do.
So I just hope that the competent authorities could revisit the situation, and hopefully we could come to another way of figuring out how we could increase revenue from small businesses.
Chief Pastor of the Worldwide Catholic Church calling for the creation of civil union laws that protects the rights of same-sex couples, noting in part that they are children of God and have a right to a family. Tonight, members of Rights Bahamas are applauding the Pope's decision. However, that statement is not sitting well with some pastors in the Grand Bahama community. Rumiko Knowles has the story.
In a recent documentary, Francesco, leader of the Catholic Church, Pope Francis expressed support for civil rights to be given to same-sex couples. Chairman of Rights Bahamas, Joe Darvo, agreeing with the Argentinian pontiff. He says individuals with alternate lifestyles should be treated with respect.
Whatever reason the Creator had, these individuals were born to ordinary citizens on the planet. And therefore, we have absolutely no right to discriminate against them with respect to their sexual orientation. As a principal in a high school and also as a longtime counselor, I had to deal with dozens of individuals who was in that particular category, be they male or female. And these people suffer tremendously, not at the hands so much, but also at the hands, but at the voice of even their own parents.
Now, Rights Bahamas also issued a statement supporting the Pope's comments on homosexuality. Treasurer Sarah Kirkby says the Pope seems to be very empathetic.
He seems to me, indoctrinate what Christianity is about. I'm not a Catholic, but I'm a Christian. And what I understand from the Bible, or from what I've been taught by going to church and to being every day with people that I love and other Christians, is that we should care, and we're there to care and take care of each other. And I'm not there to judge you, and it's not my position to judge. I'm there to support you and be there for you. I don't have a problem with people who have a different sexuality than I do.
Now, some pastors aware of the Pope's remarks are sharing a totally different view on the matter. Pastor of Living Water Assembly Eddie Victor says there is a global agenda at hand, and proponents of the agenda are seeking to change laws.
We believe that the Pope made a wrong decision, and his principle of the support of the same-sex union does not line up with the Bible. And I say that with the greatest respect to the Pope.
He says the Bible teaches that God loves everyone, but he does not condone a lifestyle that goes against his principles.
I love them, but that doesn't mean I have to support their decisions that goes against the principles of God. The laws of the laws of countries, nations, have been established on the principles of God. And so we cannot decide that we are going to accept one principle and throw out the rest.
Pastor of Eternal Light Assemblies of God, Terrence Jones, is also in disagreement. He says laws have been established by God, and no one is qualified to call for civil union laws. He believes the Pope's comments sows discord among Christians.
I think the homosexual and the gay and all those other letters to Q and all, whatever letters you want to put there, rejoicing right now because they have, as far as what many consider in Christendom, the highest authority on earth to support them. However, I want to let the world know and the Bahamas know that the highest authority on earth has been, is now, and will always be God. And God is the one that sets moral standards. God is the one that sets law.
Now we understand that the Bahamas Christian Council is expected to make a statement on the Pope's remarks soon. Rumiko Knowles, ZNS Network News.
In news from the crime beat, 44-year-old Lamar Stewart of Nelson Road was arraigned before Magistrate Charlton Smith in court on possession of an unlicensed firearm, possession of ammunition, and possession of dangerous drugs. He pled not guilty to all charges and was denied bail. He was remanded to the Department of Corrections until trial, which is set for the end of February.
I really want to encourage you with an acronym for HOPE that I believe will truly keep you anchored in Christ, especially in these difficult times. H holds on to the promises of God. I'm so glad that God is not like us. Even when we switch up, even when we change, even when we don't keep promises, like God is a promise keeper, and He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. And even when we're not faithful to Him, He is faithful to us. So really hold on to His promises, and you really would find the promises in His word and not in the world. Oh, simply obey God's voice. When we're able to distinguish God's voice from those around us, we will then be able to walk in obedience. Isaiah 41:13 says, "For I am the Lord your God, who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, do not fear, I will help you." He has all of this in His word. Like He says it, what He says will come to pass. Pray about your situation. I know sometimes we can feel like all is lost, but all is not lost. I feel like we have to look to the problem solver instead of the problems that we face. We have to tell our problems about our God. And I just want to encourage you with Psalms 23:4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff comforts me. Psalms 27:1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is my stronghold, is the stronghold of my life. Whom shall I be afraid? E, expect a change. We may not know what the future holds, but we certainly know who holds the future. So in these seasons of drought, just know that it won't last always. There is a rain of blessings that is coming, and we must believe that. Be blessed.
Stay with us, there's more still to come.